Welcome. My name is Joan Urban, and I'm the worship associate this morning and part of the team that is working to live stream this service to you wherever you may be. We are an inclusive congregation that welcomes you as you are, inclusive of all your identities, complexities, and situations. We welcome your whole self, even if it isn't fully assembled yet, because we recognize that we're all a work in progress, and we are all in this together. And remember, the service is being posted on our YouTube and Facebook pages so that folks can watch it again later. So please feel free to share it with your friends. Please join me in our opening affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. For these high purposes do we unite in worship. And now for the chalice lighting. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace. And now, Vicki Shane will give us a story for all ages.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Shane, and I have the privilege this morning of doing the moment for all ages. I've been wondering this week about a lot of things in the universe, and I've had to look up a lot of answers to questions on the internet, and some of the answers weren't even there. Nobody knew the answers, and some of them were so confusing it made my head hurt. And then I ran into this little book that I used to read to my granddaughter, and it made me feel better. So I'm going to read it to you this morning, and I hope you like it, because if you wonder about things or ask questions, this is for you. It's called I Wonder, and it's written by Annika Harris and illustrated by John Rowe. You can see I put some little stickies here to help me turn the pages better. Eva loves to look for the moon. It follows her from place to place, disappearing behind trees and mountains, and then appearing again someplace new. Look, Mama, there it is. The moon looks so beautiful in the sky. How do you think it follows us, Eva? Eva thinks about it, but she just can't figure it out. It's okay to say I don't know, said her mother. When we don't know something, we get to wonder about it. I wonder if the moon and the earth are friends, says Eva. Her mother smiles. I like that idea. But Mama, how does the moon really stay close to us? There is an invisible force called gravity that pulls all the things in the universe together, Eva's mother explains. Gravity keeps the moon close to the earth, and it keeps the planets close to the sun, too. They circle around it like this. Eva understands a little better, but then she starts to wonder, Mama, where does gravity come from? I don't know, Eva. Nobody really knows for sure, and when no one knows the answer to something, it's called a mystery. A mystery is something for everyone to wonder about together. How fun! Eva imagines herself wondering about gravity together with all the people of the world. Eva watches the moon disappear behind the clouds as she walks, excited to see where it will appear next. How many grains of sand are there in the whole world, Mama? I wonder about that too. There are trillions and trillions of grains of sand, but nobody knows exactly how many. Eva tries to think about all the sand in the whole world. It feels so big that I can't fit it all in my imagination, and it makes me feel dizzy, like I'm falling. I know what you mean, your mother agrees, and I'm sure other people feel the same way. Eva walks down another path looking for the moon, and a little orange butterfly appears. Then she notices there are butterflies everywhere. Mama, where did all these butterflies come from? These butterflies have been flying around for a few days, but they started out as little caterpillars, and those caterpillars came from eggs, and those eggs came from other butterflies. There are cycles all around us with one thing ending and another beginning. Things are always changing. Can you think of other things that change? Clouds and frogs and me. Later, Eva wonders, Mama, what was here before all the butterflies and frogs and clouds, before everything? I don't know, answers her mother. It's another mystery. I like trying to imagine what was here before the beginning of everything. What do you think was here? And Eva says, smiling, I don't know. She thinks about it for a long time, and then she has an idea. I wonder if there were feelings. As she walks home, Eva sees the moon again, glowing brightly above the roof of her house. Let's go inside and look at the moon through the window. We live with some big mysteries. When we come upon one, we're given a little gift. Every mystery is something for all of us to wonder about together. What do you wonder about? I hope you have fun this week, wondering and thinking about mysteries.
Our fellowship has a mission statement. If you'd like, please join with me in saying these words. Our spiritual community lives courage, nurtures wonder, inspires justice, includes all. During our time of meditation, while we focus on our breath, calm and slow, I would like to share the words of blessing written by Andrew Mall in honor of 2 Unitarians in World War II who risked their own comfort to help the lives of those in need. So while you're breathing calmly and slowly, as we gather together, may we remember, when you share with me what is most important to you, that is where listening begins. When I show you that I hear you, when I say, your life matters, that is where compassion begins. When I open the door to greet you, that's where hospitality begins. When I venture out to bring you to shelter, that is where love begins. When I risk my comfort to ease your suffering, when I act against hatred, violence, and injustice, that is where courage begins. When we experience the full presence of each other because of our shared humanity, because of our differences, that is where holy gratitude begins. May it be so.
Okay, so this is whenever April told me about the topic, she said scriptures from the dark side. I had no idea what that even meant. But I thought to myself, well, we've had kind of a dark side couple of years, and I definitely have had a couple of 2, 3, 4 dark side years. And but when I was a little boy, my mom, who was a big country western person, my parents were country western people. Mom, I'm looking at Bruce over here, by the way.
Yeah, Mom will look that way.
So I should look at the camera. But when I was a little boy, if my mom she wasn't much for putting up with whining. And if I was to whine about something, for example, I didn't want to take the trash out or didn't want to mow the lawn or something, my mom used to sing me this song. So I'm going to put this on auto scroll. She would just sing a little bit of it. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden along with the sunshine. There's gotta be a little rain sometimes. When you take, you gotta give, so live and let live or let go. I beg your pardon. Never promised you a rose garden. I could promise you things like big diamond rings, but you don't find roses growing on stalks of clover. So you better think it over. When it's sweet talking you could make it come true, I would give you the world right now on a silver platter. But what would it matter? So smile for a while and let's be jolly. Love shouldn't be so melancholy. Come along and share the good times while we can. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden along with the sunshine. There's gotta be a little rain sometimes. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden. I could sing you a tune or praise you the moon, but if it was what it takes to hold you, I'd just as soon let you go. But there's one thing I want you to know. You better look before you leap, still waters run deep, and there won't be any Willie with me there somewhere to pull you out. But you know what I'm talking about. So smile for a while and let's be jolly. Love shouldn't be so melancholy. Come along and share the good times while we can. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden along with the sunshine. There's gotta be a little rain sometime. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Anyway, that's what my mom used to sing me.
I always get a lot from reading the words of the Zen Buddhist Thich Nhat Hanh, and today's reading comes from a book of his entitled Peace is Every Step, with the little meditation called Washing Dishes. To my mind, the idea that doing dishes is unpleasant can occur only when you aren't doing them. Once you're standing in front of the sink with your sleeves rolled up and your hands in the warm water, it is really quite pleasant. I enjoy taking my time with each dish, being fully aware of the dish, the water, and each movement of my hands. I know that if I hurry in order to eat dessert sooner, the time of washing dishes will be unpleasant and not worth living. That would be a pity, for each minute, each second of life is a miracle. The dishes themselves and the fact that I am here washing them are miracles. If I am incapable of washing dishes joyfully, if I want to finish them quickly so I can go and have dessert, I will be equally incapable of enjoying my dessert. With the fork in my hand, I will be thinking about what to do next, and the texture and the flavor of the dessert, together with the pleasure of eating it, will be lost. I will always be dragged into the future, never able to live in the present moment. Each thought, each action in the sunlight of awareness becomes sacred. In this light, no boundary exists between the sacred and the profane. I must confess it takes me a little bit longer to do the dishes, but I live fully in every moment, and I am happy. Washing the dishes is at the same time a means and an end. That is, not only do we do the dishes in order to have clean dishes, we also do the dishes just to do the dishes, to live fully in each moment while washing them. Our message today is going to be given by Reverend Chuck Fisher, entitled Scriptures from the Dark Side. Chuck Fisher is a minister in the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ. He served congregations for 35 years and as a judicatory executive for 15. Since retirement in 2016, he has worked as a volunteer with Chalice Abbey in various capacities. Chuck and his wife Sherry have been married 52 years. They have 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 3, in December 4, great-grandchildren. They have lived in Amarillo since 2002.
I'm not going to ease into this. I'm going to just come out and say it, and we'll go from there. While scriptures in every tradition are rich with love your neighbor and love the stranger, there are equally rich traditions of not so welcoming texts demanding we show no mercy. The fact is that evil is no less perennial than human good, and often speaks with the same religious authority as the good. These texts from the dark side remind us of the human capacity for evil. They remind us how religion can be used to mask, to excuse, and to even promote evil. We need to recognize these texts. We need to recognize them because we need to own our own capacity for evil. We need to be better prepared to free ourselves from it by learning to recognize evil in what we call sacred texts. We are better equipped to resist the allure of doing evil in the name of some higher good. So, how about some examples? Here's a bedtime story for your 3-year-old from the Hebrew Bible. It's from 2 Kings. Elisha went up to Bethel. As he was walking along the road, some boys came out of town and they jeered at him. They said, "Get out of here, Baldy! Get out of here, Baldy!" He turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. Then he went on to Mount Carmel, and from there returned to Samaria. Now, of course, that's a fanciful example, and likely it was included to be something of a joke. And while I rather like the story, in other words, don't mess with bald guys, you have to ask yourself, some people are going to take that story seriously. It is, they would say, after all, Scripture. But what sort of God is this? What do we do with such texts? How about this? This is a truly evil text. This one is from Christian Scripture, from Revelation. The angel swung his sickle on the earth, gathered in the unbelievers, and threw them into the great winepress of God's wrath. They were trampled in the winepress outside the city, and blood flowed out of the press, rising as high as the horse's bridle for a distance of 180 miles. Or this, from the Quran. And kill the unbeliever wherever you find them, but do not fight them in the vicinity of the Kaaba, unless they attack you there. But if they do, slay them, for this is the reward of the unbeliever. What sort of a God is this? What do we do with such texts? From my experience, and I'm supposing yours as well, there are those who, in what I can only assume they believe to be a holy approach, take the text as presented, murmur with incredulous piety, "How mysterious are the ways of the holy." And they counsel, well, we just have to accept it. It's something like this from The Looking Glass. "I can't believe that," said Alice. "Can't you?" the Queen said in a pitying tone. "Try again. Draw a long breath and shut your eyes." Alice laughed. "There's no use trying," she said. "One can't believe impossible things." "I dare say. You haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was your age, I always did it for a half an hour a day, and sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Let's just say it flat out. There are texts in all scriptures that simply cannot, simply must not be believed or accepted. And we know that can't be right. Scripture it may be, but that can't be right. Now, some context. Our pictures of self and the world are framed early, and we often find it difficult to see a world that is larger than that original frame. One of those frames that we see life through is the frame of Scripture, how we understand it. You've heard it said, and perhaps you've said it yourself, "Well, I was always taught," or "My mama taught me to," and the church, for some, has taught, it's in the book, it's Scripture. However, from our earliest days, we know, without someone telling us, not all Scriptures are equally valid, viable, or worth believing, much less acting on. We just know that's so. Scriptures of whatever tradition can be understood or described as incarnations of, revelations of the self, or as some choose to call it, God. Just so you and I can be revelations, or not. As good or not good can come from you and can come from me, so too we can see the better or the lesser in Scriptures. We know that. How do we know? We know. Now your hand goes up in class. Say, "What? So you're going to be the judge? You're going to judge whether a Scripture is worthy or not?" Well, yes I am. And so are you. There are better and there are lesser Scriptures. There are Scriptures that are dire warnings from the dark side of humanity. How do you know? Well, I suggest we consider outcomes. This is what I say to myself about a text. A text that closes my mind, that hardens my heart, that clenches my fist, is to be rejected. A text that awakens my mind, that softens my heart, that unclenches my fist, is to be celebrated. So what might be some examples? This is from Luke in the New Testament. "But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High. For the Most High is kind to the ungrateful and to the wicked. Be merciful, just as the Most High is merciful. Be compassionate, just as the Most High is compassionate." So let's look at a revelation of that text, an incarnation of that text, an outcome. For more than 25 years, Father Greg Boyle, a Jesuit priest, has been the pastor of a church in the Boyle Heights of Los Angeles, one of the most violent neighborhoods in the country. He's also shepherded a gang program there. His book, Tattoos on the Heart, describes his experiences. There was a time when there was a housing crisis. Homeless filled the streets around the church, and his church began allowing many to sleep in their church at night. Father Boyle says, once the homeless began to sleep in the church, there was always the faintest evidence they had. Come Sunday morning, we would foo-foo the place as best we could. We'd sprinkle "I love my carpet" on the rugs and vacuum like crazy. We would strategically place potpourri and airwick around the church to combat the lingering, pervasive reminder that nearly 50 and later up to 100 men had spent the night there. About the only time we used incense at Dolores Mission was on Sunday morning before the 7:30 Mass crowd would arrive. Still, try as we might, the smell remained. The grumbling set in and people spoke of churching elsewhere. It was about this time, Father Boyle says, that a man drove by the church and stopped to talk to me. He was a Latino in a nice car and had arrived at some comfortable life and living. He knew I was the pastor. He waxed nostalgic about having grown up in the projects, and he pointed to the church and said that he had been baptized and made his first communion there. Then he takes in the scene that's all around him. Gang members gathered by the bell tower, homeless men and women being fed in the parking lot, folks arriving for the AA and NA meetings and the ESL classes. It's a who's who of everybody who was nobody. Gang members, drug addicts, homeless. This man sees all of it, and he shakes his head, obviously disgusted. Tisk, tisk, tisk. You know, he says, this used to be a church. Father Boyle says, I mount my high horse and I say, you know, most people around here think it's finally a church. Be merciful, be compassionate. A text that awakens my mind, opens my heart, and unclenches my fist is to be celebrated. Father Boyle continues, the smell was never overwhelming, just undeniably there. I decided to address the discontent in a sermon one Sunday. My sermons in those days were often dialogic, and so I began with, what does the church smell like? People were mortified. Eye contact ceases. Women are searching inside their purses for they know not what. Smells like feet, Don Raphael booms out. He was old. He didn't care what people thought. Excellent. But why does it smell like feet? Because many homeless men slept here last night, said a woman. Well, why do we let that happen here? It's what we're committed to do, says another. Well, why would anyone commit to do that? It's what Jesus would do. Well then, what's the church smell like now? The man stands and bellows, it smells like commitment. The place cheers. Guadalupe waves her arms wildly. It smells like roses. It smells like church. The packed house roars with laughter and a newfound kinship that embraced someone else's odor as their own. The stink in the church hadn't changed, only how folks saw it. The frame they looked through had become larger. There is wisdom revealed in sacred texts from many traditions. There is also evil presented and even encouraged. How to distinguish the difference. A text that closes my mind, hardens my heart, and clenches my fist is to be rejected. A text that awakens my mind, that softens my heart, that unclenches my fist is to be believed.
At this time in our service, we recognize the joys and concerns of the community. I would like to light the first candle on behalf of the Afghan refugees that they may find shelter, security, safety. and a second candle for our fellowship in this time of transition, that we may find the peace within, the love of others, a warm embrace of the possibilities of our future. And I will light one final candle for all the joys and concerns that were not expressed today, but are deeply felt in our hearts. Now we have our time for our message of generosity. Usually at this time in our service, the congregation makes its financial offering. If you have made a pledge or would like to make a contribution, you can simply mail it into our office, or you can make it online. There is a donate button on our YouTube landing page and on our website, uuamarillo.org. On the home page, in the upper right corner, you will find a blue donate button that will take you to a place where you can donate securely through PayPal. If you have made a financial pledge for this year, we ask that you please keep up your pledge. We have a few announcements to make. While we are not meeting in person for our 11 o'clock service, some groups are still meeting. The Nothing Much Buddhist group continues to meet on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. using Zoom. Please check their Facebook page for more information. And on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., the Knowledge Seekers group meets at the fellowship. Vaccinations, masks, and social distancing are required. And now comes the extinguishing of our chalice. This is the message of our faith: to act with passion in the face of injustice, to live with courage in the midst of life's pain. This is the meaning of our chalice flame. May it empower our hearts until we are together again.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
May the fellowship of this hour touch and move our lives until we come again together.